am calling this meeting of the Guilford Selectboard to order. I'm Miranda Porsche, and I'm chairing this meeting from far away. So, Chip, would you please read the rules of procedure?
I will. The Select Board, as required by Vermont statute, conducts its meetings in accordance with Vermont Open Meeting Law Statute 1 VSA 310 to 314, except as provided in Section 313 of that title. The statute reads, "The public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to express its opinion on matters considered by the public body during the meeting, as long as order is maintained. Public comment shall be subject to reasonable rules established by the chairperson."
Thank you so much, Chip. Are there any changes to the agenda order?
No.
Hearing none. Do we have any public comments or announcements, either from the room or from the people on Zoom?
Could I ask a question? Or is that not considered a comment? What Chip just said, so is it, did it change as far as, that, or is it just public comment in the front and the back of the meeting?
It's a public comment in the front of the meeting and at the end of the meeting. Did you have something you wanted to say, Dolores?
No, I was just asking, it almost sounded like you guys were gonna let there be public discussion on your articles in between, but I guess that has been just kept in place where you're not allowed to ask any questions on what you guys are talking about.
That's just the same one that I've read since last year. It hasn't
Okay,
changed.
I guess maybe I was just hopeful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for that comment. And let's move on. So we're ready for the approval of the minutes of 3/10/25. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make that motion to accept the minutes.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, well, because we're on Zoom, we will have to poll each person. So, Tara, what say you?
Aye.
Okay, and Sheila,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chip,
Aye.
and Veranda says aye. So we have accepted the minutes as read. So we're ready for finances. And Tara, you will do the warrants, please.
Yes, I'd like to move to accept the warrants as written. Payroll week 3/16/25 is $7,966.85. Payroll week 3/23/25 is $8,261.28. Expense warrant number 2518 is $34,219.25 for a total of $50,447.38.
Oh, thank you, Tara. Is there a second in the room?
Second.
We'll compete.
Okay, so as long as Erica can see who did that. And so is there discussion?
Just some notable figures. Blue Cross Blue Shield premiums for all employees was $10,058.37. Cargill, which is salt, was $2,697.06. Hopefully we won't have much more of that. I'm not sure if we pre-buy or if we wait until the fall, but maybe I can ask Jim that. Roberts Energy diesel, $4,815.88 for a total of 4 separate invoices. And then the passive quarterly liability insurance for all town buildings, plus the Guilford Volunteer Fire Department, which is reimbursed, was $14,162.47.
Thank you so much, Tara. Is there any other discussion on the warrants? Okay, then we will take a vote. Okay, Tara,
Aye.
Sheila,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chip,
Aye.
and Veranda also says aye. So we have passed the warrants. And now we've come to the section of the bill of the meeting that's about updates and reports. And so first, we're going to hear from Erica, our town administrator.
Thank you, Brenda. I will be watching to let people in while I do this. As a quick list, I signed the project manager paperwork for our culvert project on Slate Rock Road. That is something that's been in the works for some time, and that was one step that has already been approved by the select board. And I just signed the paperwork to get it going. So hopefully we'll hear some news about that soon. I renewed Guilford's SAM membership, which is just a governmental way to file things with the federal government for treasury, and that is for ARPA reporting. You have to renew it every year, and that's completed. I worked with Passive Loss Control to learn more about our RFP on the Historical Society Museum. More on that later, but that I worked closely with the loss control person there. I worked with Dan Ingold, our town's attorney, and the Guilford Community Church on a draft of a memorandum of understanding to use the church as an emergency day shelter. So that agreement will be brought to the select board soon. I went to, and Jimmy did as well, we had our annual meeting with our VTrans reps, Megan and Mark Pickering, to talk about grants that the town may be eligible for this year and other things that are required every year for reporting from the town. We have one of those things tonight, our road and bridge standards. Next time we'll talk about our annual financial plan and our grants that we are eligible for. We had a very good conversation with Mark and Megan. Their main worry as state folks is about FEMA money coming from the federal government. They're very concerned that Vermont is going to be in not good shape about that if FEMA money dries up. This week was last week was my first week without my assistant. So I'm back to posting all the meetings, agendas, and minutes, and recordings for all the commissions. So apologies if I'm behind on any of that. I'm working on it. That position for my assistant and as a town clerk assistant as well is posted on our website now and will be advertised this week in other places like the 2 newspapers and Front Porch Forum and VLCT. I sent off the letter to Governor Scott based on the resolution from town meeting. Ellie and I met with a local attorney, Bob Fisher, who will help us get our tax sale process underway. So that was the first meeting about that, and he's confident that he can move fairly quickly on at least the first steps, which is to notify people that we've contacted an attorney and they should pay their taxes. I see that Jeanette's here and maybe she'll have something to say about this, but I just wanted to mention that there's an event on Wednesday at BDCC called What About Washouts? About flooding and washouts on our roads, and the bill is stacked. Chris Campany's gonna be there, I think, and Jimmy's going. Don't miss it. And that's it. That's my update for now.
Thank you, Erica. It sounds like a lot. In just thinking about getting you and Uriel new assistants or a new assistant, perhaps select board members can help widen and invigorate the search so that, I mean, it brought us great people before, and I trust we can do that again. So thank you for your report. And next, we'll hear from Jimmy. Is Jimmy in the house?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, terrific.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I would like to talk about the roads. I predicted that it would be 4 to 6 weeks before they were in good shape, and that was 2 weeks ago, so the clock's ticking. Currently, many of them have not unfrozen yet. Some have. And as I explained 2 weeks ago, the best thing to do, if they're passable, is to leave them alone and be patient, which I'm not myself. And so that's being tested. I'm not popular right now with a lot of people because they want the road fixed right now. And it's the worst thing that I could do. And I know it. And, you know, if we tear up a half mile of road to fix a 50-yard section of road, that just doesn't make sense economically or manpower, any way you look at it. So the worst roads in town right now are Stage Road. None of them are closed. And I will say it's mud season and we don't have much mud. So that's good. We have humps and we have a lot of road chatter. But if you slow down, you can drive that. We don't have holes that we've had in the past that will swallow a car and then, you know, the next car can drive on the roof of that one. And we don't have that anymore. So, State Road had a washout, small one. There was concern that we didn't fix it right away. And that was my explanation. I made the call. I'm not going to tear up, you know, road to get to a spot. So we signed it off and coned it off, and we did fix that today because with the cooling temperatures, we were able to take equipment up there. All of these roads thaw out differently. The front of Stage Road has been weeping for 8 or 10 days. It's still not unthawed. It's still coming. The back started between Friday and Sunday at some time. There was no movement. A lot of people think if the road is flat, they lucked out and didn't get mud season this year. That's not true. It's just not unthawed yet. And then there are perennial spots that you know about, but they can pop up anywhere at different times, different years. So moving along, Slate Rock, the first quarter mile is probably the next one. Sweet Pond, we did have a person get stuck, and it was a mud hole. It's only 20 yards long. We cleaned that out, put gravel, and it created a 1-lane road. We're still letting that dry. We will probably cuff that back into place tomorrow. But there again, patience is the big thing. And I have encouraged everyone, if, you know, it's hard to have eyes everywhere. We have a lot of road. If you see a tree on the lines or something that looks funny or a mud hole, or feel free to call me and we'll check it out and see what's feasible to do or not do at that moment in time. I'll just give you one example. I went to the gym before work on Thursday morning, and the owner of Outer Limits lives up on East Mountain, and he came right up to me and he said, "My road's good. It's great." And I said, "Well, sorry, Mike, but it hasn't thawed out yet." It looks like this carpet, and that's because it's frozen. And by the time I got to the shop that morning, there was a woman on the phone that left a message that said, "East Mountain is horrible. The potholes are huge. It's all nearly impassable." And what a different view And so we responded and went down, check it out and all that. And literally there was probably 20 yards of potholes from the pavement. The rest of it, they're rough, but that's just the way it goes. They're passable. And so we will continue with the same. I asked for patience. There's no other way to do it. So that's pretty much my report. Any questions?
Did you want to say something about the meeting with the planning commission?
I was asked to attend. Jeanette stopped and said she was having this meeting. It's kind of informal. She wants to get the ball rolling. I'm not exactly sure what the whole meeting is going to be about and what direction it's going to take. She just asked for, we are into water management. That's really what we're doing with these roads. And if somebody has a question or if I can help add to that what we do, I will. So it's I'll be there. I don't know the itinerary exactly. So
Thank you.
sure.
Jim, can I ask you a question or a couple questions? I'm gonna reel them off.
Yep.
So I know there's a shortage of salt and municipalities get first dibs. When do you start buying salt? Will you restock now, or will you wait for the fall? Do you have a locked in price, or could that change based on demand?
Okay. So this Chip's been, I've heard rumor, he's been looking at this because we are approaching our budget on salt. I would say I started with a full salt shed and a sand shed. Your budget doesn't tell you that. It's a piece of paper created in time. So I would fully like to buy several more loads of salt and put it back where I found it. That's basically a surplus that's been built up over the years. And we will be right at the line with that and maybe under on sand. So, and because the sand shed is 80% full. So I think that I can fill both. And as far as the price, I think it's a smart thing to do because the price will only go up. We pay $86 a ton. That's the cheapest. When I talk to all the other town guys, which I regularly consult with several towns, because I know people and throwing ideas around helps me. And after the last storms, the shortage, we had local people driving all the way to Boston to pick up their own at $186 a ton. Our company, we've done long-term with Barrett Trucking in Cargill, and they will let me replenish. They asked me to give them a breather to catch up. But I can replenish at this year's price and stay within budget and be the same as I started, which is amazing because we've used, probably double the salt of last year. That's how the surplus was built.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
On the stage road washout, was that a one-time only, or was that something that would be an indication that the work that you guys did last year with MT3, with all the rock and down that left side of the road, which starts further down, is that an indication that, that might be something you want to take a look at?
No, I can tell you honestly, the very first select board meeting I came to, which wasn't that long ago, I explained that rain in the wintertime was Vermont's climate change, a highwayman's climate change, the worst that I've seen in the last 8 years. That's the one that over and over messes us up. That rain, there's 4 feet of snow, push that water out of the ditch 2 feet. It ate the road. We went up and pushed it back into the ditch. But whenever the water gets into the gravel or crosses the road, that's why it can be a simple little thing. Without rain in the wintertime, wouldn't have happened.
Right. Okay.
And we had spent several days winging every road in town to get things pushed back. And then that rain came. And now, amazingly, there's a small one on Jacksonville Stage near our line. or before that,
Right.
by Lonnie Weatherhead's old
Oh, okay.
house. Same thing, just gravel on the side, jumped out, we pushed it back. And that was the biggest one. And no, I would not consider that any part of the ditching or anything. The water got out of the ditch
Yeah,
and it needs to stay in there.
that's good to know.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I think I need to address my remarks to,
Oh,
ask Miranda for permission to speak.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So I just wanted to say that in the 10 years that I've been following budgets and select board issues, I think it has always been the practice to stock up on sand and salt as much as we could possibly get before the next winter season. So I think it's great that you're continuing that tradition. And if you go over budget, it means we'll maybe have a little bit less at the beginning of 26, fiscal year 26, so.
But we'll still get more salt for our dollar.
Yes.
And
exactly.
I think I'm a numbers
Yeah.
budget type guy in my head all the time. And I think we're going to, in the category of winter, we'll be under
Yeah, I think.
with the
you're
sheds full. So
right. Yes,
I think it's going to all work out.
yeah, I just appreciate that.
Okay. Anything else?
No, nice job, bud.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
at a recent meeting of select boards from the county, some of the select board members talked about whether our road crews could collaborate on getting better prices for, the important things, the sand and gravel, if they did it collectively. But, so I was just bringing that comment back. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it was just, a question that was raised. I think that our road commissioners in our towns are pretty savvy, very savvy about how to get what you need. And I don't know if you need more meetings.
I see. I can tell you that with equipment and a lot of things, the state does a great job in assisting us. Like on equipment purchases, I was amazed. And it wasn't part of my deal, but just listening to Dan over the last several years, we run things through municipal programs and that can be 30+%. So that's huge. All we're doing is trying to stretch a dollar. The culverts, I actually used to sell culverts to all these towns in my former life. And the state bid culvert, the last ones I sold were probably $10 over cost, but we delivered them as part of a community thing that the owner of that store was willing to participate in. So the state is helping us, all the towns, stretch our dollar. And so we are sand and salt, we're on our own, but there's many things that are already
Co-op.
Mhm. Well, that's great to know, Jim.
Mhm.
Okay, I think, did anybody else on the select board have a question for Jimmy?
Nope.
Okay, then.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
Great to hear from you. Okay, so the next report we're going to have is from our town clerk, Uriel. So, Uriel, I see you're here in the house on Zoom.
I have to do something? There we go.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
All right. Hi, my name is Uriel. If you've not yet met me, I am your new town clerk. I wanted to start off by letting folks know my hours. I'm officially in the office Monday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and then Tuesday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. On Mondays when I'm not there, most of the time, Ellie is in as the assistant town clerk alongside all of her many other titles. And we'll be doing that work until I am able to find a new assistant, as you have all heard from Erica as well. So that'll continue. So even if I'm not there, you still can get support on any town clerk needs. But those are my hours. we are officially 3 weeks post-election, and I want to let folks know that all newly elected officials have signed their certificates of election and their oaths to office, which is really great. Last week, on Tuesday, the annual school board meeting was held. 43 out of 1,841 registered voters, of Guilford registered voters, checked in. That accounts for 2.3% of all Guilford voters, tying us with Dummerston for the second highest percentage of voter turnout. So we still did good. The most notable thing from the school budget was from the school meeting was that the school budget was approved for $65,846,891. That was approved, and that is pretty much the biggest thing from the school board meeting. Other than that, there was a lot of spirited disputes, but you can catch up on all of that by going over to the school board website, where you can get the minutes for that. Some of the last things I want to let folks know is that dog licenses are due at the end of the month. I've tried to make a very strong effort to help remind folks, and it seems like some folks received letters from those for renewal notices, which is really great. Today we had 30 renewed dog licenses, which is a really high number on a Monday, and we really love to see that, especially as dog licenses are wrapping up. But then for anyone who is like, oh no, my dog license needs to be renewed, but I don't have my rabies certificate updated. Well, you're in luck. The town office is hosting one more rabies clinic this Saturday. Yes, Saturday is the day that clinic will be happening from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And at this clinic, you'll be able to get both your rabies certificate, rabies vaccination, which will be $25, I believe. And you can also, at the same time, register your dog. So you don't have to wait until Monday. You will be able to do that on Saturday. And that wraps it up for my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have from the select board have any questions for Uriel? Okay, well, it's great to have you here, Uriel, and I look forward to crossing paths with you and having good vibes bound,
All right.
as we used to say back in the day.
Okie dokie.
Okay, so
Could I make a correction, because I read the article in the paper? Would I be allowed to make a correction? You do call for omissions and corrections, don't you? On Muriel's statement? Because I read the article in the paper. And he said the only thing that was.
I can't tell who is speaking.
Patty Bullock. The only thing that was really pertinent was, to me anyway, was the fact, and it isn't mentioned by him, was the fact that the schools, some of the schools, Dummerston, Guilford, Academy, I believe was one of them, that the enrollment was down. So there were very clear, a clear objective by Governor Scott to close some of these schools. I'd call that fairly pertinent. That's all I want to say.
Okay, Patty, if you would like to make a comment, please wait for the community comment time. I think that everybody really cares about this issue, and you can speak about it toward the end of the meeting when we have community comment. Okay, so we're moving on now. And I believe, do we have a representative from the Rec Commission here? I have on the agenda that our next report is from the Recreation Commission. And I'm not sure whether somebody is officially representing the Recreation Commission.
Taylor, do you want to speak? Okay. I can ask Taylor to unmute.
30 seconds. I'm walking away from the children.
Thanks,
Oh,
Taylor.
I have to ask her to unmute again. They can't. Yeah, that's
Good.
Okay, thank you.
You're kind of putting me on the spot, which is totally fine. Right now, we're gonna plan for our Waking of the Earth celebration this spring for the kiddos. We started a fiber club and we met twice this month. I drove by this Sunday when I was doing a nap drive with my kiddos, and there was a lot of people there, so that's great. Yoga's still happening on Mondays, and that's been wonderful. Yeah, and then we'll be getting ready for summer events soon.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming and thanks for being so adaptable.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Okay. So that ends the part of the meeting dedicated to reports and updates. Now we're going on to old business, and we're continuing our discussion of annual select board goals. And Erica, I think you and I had an interesting conversation about this that it would be interesting to have you report on.
About the goals.
About the goals.
Can you remind me what we were talking about?
Yes. Well,
All right.
okay. I mean, every year I can start with this. Every year for as long as I've been on the select board, since 2017, the select board has set out a group, of sort of goals, values and goals, and we have tried to stay on track with those goals. And somebody pointed out at our last meeting that our goals were aspirational and we didn't really have sort of a step-by-step process for seeing how we were achieving these goals. And so today, I think at the last meeting, Steve Lemke suggested that we reach out to other towns to find out whether there's some wisdom that we could garner from them. And so simultaneously, this is what I was referring to at the beginning of my statement, was that today Erica and I started looking at the websites of all of the towns around us to see whether other towns had goals and how they handled them. And so Erica can mention the ones that she investigated, but none of the towns that I looked at had specific goals plus a process for tracking their progress on them. And I thought that that was pretty interesting. Erica, would you like to say more about that?
I believe that was Chip actually that was looking at the other towns.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chip.
Oh, that's okay. Actually, I didn't even hear Steve say that, but it was a great idea, but I was just doing it to do it, so we were all on the same page. But this is what I found. So I just checked. Putney has absolutely no goals, resolutions on, like, for example, on equity and inclusion, or a resolution on discrimination. There are official resolutions that detail actions to be taken. Vernon, no goals. Jamaica, no goals. Dummerston, no goals. Halifax, no goals. Marlborough, no goals. Londonderry, no goals. I scoured their websites, checked select board pages, community pages, news pages, document pages, into ordinances in case they drafted it as a goal ordinance, but found absolutely not one actually.
Thank you, Chip.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had,
Yeah, that's
it was a text, and so
Yeah.
I wasn't able to clarify what telephone number.
Oh, that's okay.
No, that's okay. Anyway, I think it's important for us to have directions, to have aims. And I wondered, this is really a discussion with the select board about how we could best have the conversation to clarify what our aims are, what our intentions are, and how to finish up this process. And I wondered if anybody would like to comment on that. Yeah, Tara.
I would love to see everybody take a copy of the Excel spreadsheet with the current goals, make a copy, and then put in when they look at that spreadsheet, every one of us on the select board revise it on our own, and then bring that back together and share those ideas.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have, this includes you, Erica, in terms of you'll be involved in facilitation, I'm sure, of some of this. Other select board members have ideas. I think I see Sheila.
Yeah. It seems to me, I like that idea, Tara. It seems to me that it would be a good workshop to have, as opposed to a select board meeting where we have so many other issues to deal with. And we could have a public workshop, but I think we should set aside some time in the next month or 6 weeks to, after everybody's done their initial work that Tara's already proposed, that if we then convene to share with each other and whoever wants to attend and get some feedback, and have the possibility of communication from people who attend the meeting as well as just the select board members. So we would change the structure of that workshop a little bit.
So Mike or Chip, do you have thoughts about this?
I was going to suggest, and I think I did the last time, that I agree with what Tara's proposing to do, but I would like to see us add a column that says progress or status or something that says where are we really at. I think we need a conversation about that.
Well, I think that anyone that's on the select board for the last 2 years anyway, we can add that comment and we can throw in the progress, each individual one, like this is how we accomplished this goal. So we can talk about that and then moving forward have that column as well.
Right. But I would be willing to do a separate meeting as Sheila's proposing.
A goals workshop is something that we have definitely done before.
And Chip, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, not really. Actually, I think Tara and Sheila's idea with a combination is a good one.
Okay. So in terms of process, I mean, I just reread all of the goal documents today from the Excel sheet and the ones that I read from the past. And so I am certainly prepared to do tweaks or revisions. They are quite broad and aspirational. And so maybe part of each select board member's notes on the goals would be to assess what practical steps we have taken already toward them, or what steps you would like to see us take. And we can ask Erica to schedule that workshop and we can, I'm curious about how much time you want to take to do this study piece. When shall we? Yeah. Chip.
I do have one question just on that, we're talking about everything euphemistically as it's a goal. I can remember a discussion we had in the select board last year where we didn't feel we needed to be locked into specifically that word. And I know you're the wordsmith, so, and maybe if there's gonna be a progress column, goal isn't the right word, maybe it could be purpose or targets or objectives or intentions or, I think you had said last year or this year, you'd had a couple of really good aims or intentions. So as we get ready to do this combination, Tara Sheila workshop, I don't want to be pigeonholed into goals. We can, or just whatever the spectrum is being called.
Okay, that's fine with me. I sort of like aims because it's short.
Yeah, I like
but,
it too.
and really indicates where we want to go. But I think to have a strong and trustworthy process is the main thing. And so, do we want to set a timeline for this now, or do we want to have Erica throw out some ideas and choose one?
Well, what about if we all commit to updating the Excel sheets on our own by the next meeting, and then we reconvene to have a little, let's quickly talk about goals, see how we're all feeling, and then plan the workshop from there.
Okay, how do people feel about that? Is that going to work?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that will be an action to be taken that we can add to the end of the meeting. I mean, our list at the end of the meeting. So now we're ready to move on to the new state ethics rules and requirements. And so, and then under that, the Code of Ethics Ordinance and Conflict of Interest policy. And so, Erica, do you want to start with that?
Yes, I can. So
Thank you.
as part of the new statute that the state passed last summer, this January starts new ethics ordinance for the state and for municipalities. So that is already in place. And a part of that requests of towns that they have their own ethics investigation and enforcement ordinance. We have a draft from VLCT that is very good, and we have a few choices to make before we start considering this draft to be final and send it on to the town attorney. The main choice, I think, is that we need to choose who is the designated complaint recipient. That is a municipal officer or body designated to receive complaints alleging violations of the municipal code of ethics. So we have accomplished some work here. The code of ethics, the municipal code of ethics, is posted on our website, and we've done some other things that the Ethics Commission requested of us along the lines of whistleblower thing is posted in our office. But the model that VLCT sent out, it doesn't name the designated complaint recipient. So I communicated with the Ethics Commission, the Executive Director, Christina Sivret, and she recommends that she can't tell us who it should be, but she did say that it's a good idea to name the person who the recipient is going to be, because this whole ordinance just talks about the designated complaint recipient and it never says who it is. So I think that this document should say who it is, and I think probably that it should be the town administrator to get the first volley of a complaint, and then the town administrator can take it to the select board. That is probably the way the process should work. And we need to agree on that and put it in the ordinance.
Should we have a backup?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
There should be a backup, because in case the designated complaint recipient is the person who's being complained about.
Yes.
So I think that it would make sense for the select board chair to be the alternate in that case.
Well, I am willing to do that. And is this something that we need to vote on now?
I think, yes, you need to designate a designated complaint recipient and the backup, and then we can continue on with this, because the model policy just had fill in the blanks here with the person you've chosen. So we can update the model policy, and then we can move to what should be a final draft, and then we can have a hearing to adopt the ordinance.
So I'd like to make a motion to nominate the complaint recipient as the town administrator, Erica.
I'll second it.
And the backup to be the select board chair.
Well,
Okay, can we
are they
vote
two
on-
motions or one? I can do one, and also the backup to be the select board chair.
Okay, is it all right for us to do both of them at once?
Yes.
Okay, and so it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion in the select board about having the town administrator and the select board chair be the primary and secondary or alternate complaint department? Yeah, Sheila.
Not specific to this, but is this something that you've all talked about for a long time, like this draft code of ethics, or are we just seeing this for the first
No,
time?
it's been a while.
Since January.
Since January, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Not
Yeah.
a long while, Sheila, but
It's
this
come up
was,
in a few meetings.
Yeah, I didn't know
since January.
if everybody's already seen the draft, and I
It
just,
has been,
Yeah.
it has been.
I mean, I did do the workshop, so,
Yeah. Sorry.
but I didn't know if our town has a draft already. Okay, no, I'm perfectly supportive of the motion.
It has to be,
Okay.
it has to be someone.
I'm sure you'll be able to read the draft policy, and we'll also be having steps.
Well, I did do the whole training this last weekend, so, or a week and a half ago. Excuse me.
The Ethics Commission training was very interesting to me, and I mean, but maybe this isn't the right time to talk about the scope of that. So maybe I'll ask Tara, would you please just run the election for, the motion, just the vote on this is what I'm struggling to say.
Okay, so I made the motion. All in favor? Well, actually, we gotta do it one at a time.
Yeah.
Chip,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Sheila,
Aye.
Miranda,
Aye.
and Tara says aye.
Thank you, Tara. It just seemed like a more protocol-ish thing to have you do that. Okay. So the next item is the conflict of interest complaint. And Erica, would you take the lead on that, please?
Sure. So we have
A complaint from Tammy Sargent, based on the last select board meeting, where all the select board members filled out and gave me their conflict of interest statements, as they do annually. And Sheila brought up the fact that she doesn't believe that her involvement in Friends of Algiers Village and the Algiers Traffic Calming and Safety Committee and the Select Board is a conflict, because based on all the trainings that we've recently done, the kernel of what a conflict of interest is a financial interest. And there's nothing there like that. So Tammy sent us a message saying that she disagrees with that statement, and she would like to have some questions answered about it. First of all, she attaches an email that she got between Sheila when she was interim town administrator and the VTrans district rep, Mark Pickering, talking about adding stop signs to the intersection between Guilford Center Road and Route 5. And she's questioning where that, in that email, Sheila says, we can't have stop signs on the road, and Tammy says, when did the select board talk about that? The select board doesn't need to talk about that. That is in the document that's called MUTCD, the standards for our highways that the state uses. And Tammy also says that Sheila was the interim town administrator for less than 2 weeks when she sent this email. That may be true, but Sheila was the assistant town administrator since at least 6 months prior to that, and many other times in the past. The email that Tammy's questioning here is really about, VTrans requested it. VTrans requested a letter, and she was communicating with VTrans about this in that email. So.
In my capacity as town administrator.
Yes, in Sheila's capacity as town administrator. And I think we have some more information about that, right, Veranda, that you can share?
Yes, well, Sheila did reach out directly to the executive director of the Ethics Commission, who found no conflict of interest in the principles that Sheila presented to her. I mean, this isn't a ruling. It's an opinion based on facts. And so I feel as if this is not a Sheila issue, this is a select board issue for us to look at the way we do business and to go forward based on that. And Sheila, would you like to speak about what your intention is in terms of the Algiers Traffic Calming and Safety Committee?
Hadn't really prepared anything, but I think.
I was thinking about recusal.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes, I'm happy to recuse myself from any vote on this if it makes everybody happy.
Well, there's just the slightest hypothetical. I mean, well, let me just put it more simply. If the Algiers Traffic Calming and Safety Committee, if I have the name properly, came to the select board with a proposal that would involve spending the taxpayers' money, then you could, I would imagine, it would be valuable to have you participate in conversations about that, because you and Erica would have valuable information to share. But if it was a vote about accepting the proposal, that you could offer to recuse yourself, even though there isn't any ethical compromise in your voting?
So I think I was appointed to that committee because of my 11 years of experience with Algiers traffic and pedestrian safety issues in the town. But I'm happy to also resign from the committee if that makes people feel more comfortable.
Well, is there any other discussion of this on the select board?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I attended a new select board training on Saturday, and I brought up the question, without any names, but the issue, I brought up this issue, and at that training, and the response from the people who were there was that this was not a conflict of interest situation. I'd also like to say that as just a community member, whether I live in Algiers, I don't live in Algiers, I live on Stage Road, but the whole issue of the traffic calming and the Guilford Country Store and its being viable is a community asset, and I think we all benefit from traffic calming in that area. So I don't see any reason why, in my view, that Sheila should resign or recuse herself. To me, she's just doing something that's a benefit to all of us.
Okay, are you done, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, Chip?
Yeah. I've got several points on this. I'm probably, just in full disclosure, probably a little bit more sensitive to conflict of interest than most with a career in television, because what we did was always, or could always be viewed as a conflict of interest. We had to sign a gazillion forms. But I think, and it happens to be Sheila, but it could be any select board member, I don't feel should be, without some sort of options, a voting member on any committee, commission, or board of trustees and sit on the select board at the same time. Because let's just say, take for example, I'm gonna hypothetically say one. So I'm on the Guilford Activities Commission, right? We want a new park. I'm a voting member. We get a grant for a new park. It's $210,000. We bring it to the select board. Now I'm a voting member on the select board and on this commission. So you vote for it, she votes for it, Tara votes against it, Miranda votes against it. Deadlocked at 4, I'm the swing vote. I vote for it because I've been pushing for it in that voting, as a voting member of the commission, direct conflict of interest. And in that ethics training video that we all watched, and I pulled these directly from the transcript, but municipal officials are required to avoid not only conflict of interest, but also the appearance of a conflict of interest, which in this case, I feel is exactly what Sheila's position on the Algiers committee creates. I think there are options for you. I don't think you have to walk away. I'll get to those in a minute. But second point is there are grants involved with the Algiers committee. And in another excerpt I pulled, it says, however, if you sit on a board that's reviewing applications for municipal grants and you are a member of the decision-making committee as well as a grant applicant, which you would be, it would be a conflict of interest for you to remain on the committee. You have a direct personal interest in who receives a grant, and your interest is greater than the average member of the public. I don't think one can rationalize to be both a voting member on a commission, committee, or a board of trustees, as well as a member of the select board. As the ethics and conflict interest training video words it this way: put yourself into the shoes of an average member of the public. How would your participation in the matter appear to that person? If a reasonable, impartial person is suspicious that you have a conflict, which I would qualify myself as, think twice about your participation. I also reached out to Christina Sivert as well earlier in the week, And while she couldn't go into detail about it because the whole ethics and conflict commission is privacy based, she did give me her opinion where she said it could be viewed as a perceived conflict of interest and as well as preferential treatment because she's sitting both on the board of the Algiers Committee and on the select board. And again, this is Sheila. It could be Chip, it could be Mike, it could be Veranda, it could be anything on any committee. This just happens to be the example. And she has a fiduciary duty to serve Guilford, which is legal duty to serve Guilford, and she also has a duty with the Algiers Committee, so there would be a question of preferential treatment. So I don't think anybody has to walk away, but I think the options are either you stay in the committee as a liaison, and then any matter from the Algiers Committee that comes up in front of the select board, you are part of the discussion, but you recuse yourself from voting. Or you stay in the committee as a voting member, and the same thing, if it comes up, any presentation that the Algiers Committee brings before the select board, we would love to have your discussion and input, but I don't feel you should be able to vote on it.
Thank you, Chip.
Can I just,
Does anybody else on the select board want to speak to this?
Sheila does.
Tara does.
And Tara.
Yeah,
Want to say something?
I just completely concur with Chip about all of that. I think that a conflict of interest can be a perceived conflict of interest. And if somebody's making decisions on a board or a committee and then talks to the select board, they could potentially persuade someone into saying yay or nay to a grant. That's definitely that at that point, that's not even a perceived conflict of interest. But in the ethics training, it also says if you're a municipal member and there's any question, then it's no longer a question. It can be a conflict of interest. In the last 2 years on this select board, we have tried and worked really, really hard regarding conflict of interest. And there's definitely 2 members of the select board that feel very strongly about this, and also moving forward that maybe we should change things altogether, and that anybody who is on a board or committee, like Chip said, should be a liaison, and no select board member that is on that board or committee should be able to vote. Or the 2 options that Chip gave. You're either a liaison and you recuse yourself from voting, or you stay a voting member and you recuse yourself from select board discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Miranda, can I add to that?
Well, I just wanted to see whether anybody else wanted to speak again.
I would.
Yeah, Mike.
To comment.
Why would you?
I mean, Chip, you did a great job. You obviously did a lot of research. You read back to me a lot of things, but the part I'm having difficulty with, and it's based on, I went through the training, I've gone through 2 in the last 2 weeks over conflict of interest. And I don't understand where there is a financial gain on Sheila's part by her voting on issues on the committee she's on. I don't understand where the financial gain is that she would. I understand how there may be grants. I can understand that she would be on her committee that could come up, but that's not a financial gain for her.
It's not personal.
Right, it's not
personal, but it still could be preferential treatment, which is a conflict of interest or a perceived conflict of interest. People in town could say, and this is, it's like Chip said, this is just the situation is with Sheila, but people in town could say that Sheila was a voting member on that board, then she voted on the select board, they got that grant. That was a conflict of interest because she influenced the decision and got to vote twice on it.
So can I,
So I think that we need to speak, one at a time, and
Sorry.
like to hear from Sheila.
So I respect everybody's opinion. Thank you, Chip, for all of that research.
Yeah.
Very like what I did myself. When I was appointed to that committee, I was not on the select board, which is why I brought it up at the select board, the first select board meeting last year. I have offered to both recuse myself and resign from the committee, and I think that should make absolutely everybody happy. If you want me to be a liaison to the committee, I'm happy to do that. We have select board members who liaise with different committees and commissions, and they report back to the select board on the discussions. But often that's not necessary because Erica is also a member of that committee and she reports back. So it's not, I'm happy to do what, I've offered to recuse, I've offered to resign. I'm not trying to create any conflict within the select board or in the community, and I've been very open about it. So I think we don't really need to discuss it anymore other than decide if you'd like me to be a liaison person to the committee.
Miranda, can I speak?
Well, I want to say something just as someone who has not really spoken to this yet, and I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm glad we have a robust conflict of interest policy. One thing that I'm concerned about is having a really open-ended complaint about perceived conflict of interest. I think that I don't want to open a door to having one after another complaints from people about perceived conflict of interest when there actually is no personal gain. For somebody to try to learn more about a topic and bring their advice to us is not it's not pushing us. We're all reasonable adults here. We can agree or disagree about things. Now, the outcome of this discussion is not as important to me as the kind of warning that I want to put out to us. We are basing, from my perspective, I want us to base our work together on trust and vigilance, not on an atmosphere of suspicion and the innuendo that's come before us already. So I don't think that we need to take action on whether Sheila stays on that committee, is a liaison. I think we can just let this issue simmer and we can have a decision, let's say, at the next meeting.
Miranda,
Yes.
I completely disagree, and I think you've totally missed the point. This isn't directed at Sheila, okay? You guys are, you and Mike are focusing on the specifics of this, which shows me you can't see the forest through the trees. This is a big picture spectrum. This is what Tara and I are talking about. We're trying to avoid going forward any perceived conflict of interest by having a select board member serve as a working voting member for any commission, committee, or board of trustees. And we say that not knowing what is going to come up down the road. In regard to Erica's position as a voting member on that Algiers committee, Christina Sivert, the ethics person, told me that while it isn't a direct conflict of interest because she doesn't have voting power on the board, it still is a perceived conflict of interest. And that's the deal. We're talking about a perceived conflict of interest. And in our own conflict of interest policy, Article 6 under disclosure, it says a public officer may request that another public officer recuse him or herself from a matter due to a conflict of interest, whether real or perceived. So, yeah, technically, Sheila has no conflict of interest on work sitting on the Algiers committee and sitting on the select board. We don't disagree with that. That's semantics. What Tara and I are talking about, and what I hope that you can see, is the big picture where her sitting on that committee and on the select board generates a perceived conflict of interest. And if there's a perception, that's reality. And it's not a perception that the five of us might have. It's the perception of the people sitting in this room. It's the people who are going to watch this video. What we're trying to do is remove any shadow of a conflict of interest, whether real or perceived. It doesn't follow the parameters of what was defined in that training course, but the subject and the definition of perceived, and I just read you all five of them, does fit that definition. So we're not, in my opinion, I don't want to table this. Not only do I not want to table it, but I want an answer on it. And then I also think going forward, it needs to be in our own conflict of interest policy. That needs to be updated to reflect this as well.
Amen.
Updated to reflect this hardship.
No select board member can sit on a, that's why we're all liaisons. Like I was a liaison in the sheriff's committee, and I don't know who does a planning commission, rec commission, conservation commission. We're all liaisons for a very good reason, because if we sat on those committees as voting members and then brought like a park grant to the select board from the rec commission, that's a conflict of interest.
I think that Sheila has suggested that she will step down from.
I offered.
Well, I mean, I don't.
And I offered to serve as a liaison.
Yeah, but here's.
Okay, let's, we're not going to have, this backing and forthing. Sheila has offered to take one of two steps in terms of the Algiers Traffic Calming and Safety Committee. I do want to point out that I served as a member of the Cemetery Commission since 1993, a voting member of the Cemetery Commission, and I served on the select board until, beginning in 2017, and just became a liaison to that committee in 2024 rather than a voting member of the committee. And interestingly, the Cemetery Commission is one of the commissions that's non-advisory, that apparently is supposed to be reporting, recording meetings, and I did this with great comfort, knowing that I would never recommend anything untoward to the select board. Anyway, Sheila has offered to be a liaison to the committee, and I'm not sure how we can process this. Do we need a motion for this to happen, or does Sheila just make a declaration?
I'd just like to address that because I don't think she just needs to be a liaison on that committee. I've read the CV, I've looked at the resume, she's put in a lot of time and effort as a voting member. Remain a voting member, but recuse yourself from any discussion and voting before the select board. That's one of the options. So you can either be a liaison and recuse yourself from voting, or you can be a voting member and recuse yourself from voting. There's three options, you know. There's three options. I'm only hearing one from you.
Well, how about, I mean, what I'm understanding is that if she's a liaison from that committee, or if a person is a liaison from a committee, they can participate fully in conversations because they have valuable information to share.
Yes,
So if we're going to clarify this, then the person in question could continue as a liaison, sharing expertise with and gathering information from that committee, bring it to the select board for our elucidation, and just recuse that person's self from voting. Is that satisfactory to you and Tara?
Yes.
Tara, is that satisfactory to you?
Yes.
Okay. Sheila, is that satisfactory to you?
Yes.
Okay. So let it be reflected in the minutes. And thank you for your frank exchange of views. We need to be able to share what's important to us, whether we agree or disagree, and to be able to compromise as needed. So the next item of business is the recording of advisory body meetings per VLCT and 1 VSA section 310 to 314. We need to have this discussion. So in talking with Erica, and I'll be happy to hear what each of you has to say. As I mentioned earlier, the Cemetery Commission was the one commission that was actually required by statute to record meetings. It's awkward, but, and I don't know whether people will be able to do that, but that was a requirement.
Right, because statutorily, the Cemetery Commission is a decision-making body. Guilford, our Cemetery Commission doesn't quite work that way, but it's by statute, so VLCT says that they are a non-advisory committee.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
there's a longer list of other folks who are like the library trustees and listers that are required to under the.
And so we can strongly advise the other commissions to record their business meetings. We understand a certain sacrifice of spontaneity that members would have in staying within these parameters, not just in creating accurate minutes, but we do recognize the value of public discourse, and we can ask them to do their very best to record their meetings. By statute, we can't require them to do that. Isn't that your understanding, Erica?
I believe that the select board can.
I mean, I don't think anything needs to change. The select board asked the committees and commissions to record when this law came into effect. Greater understanding on the part of VLCT has revealed that if you're not a decision-making body, it's not a law, but the select board absolutely has the ability to request this of all the committees and commissions, whether they're advisory or not. So that's what the select board did previously. So if you do nothing, the request still stands.
Okay, well,
Yeah, so
I-
really,
um,
it's hard with her on Zoom sometimes.
I'm sorry, I didn't, did somebody have something they wanted to say about this?
No, it was just me following up with Erica. I apologize. It's hard, sometimes as I said, going in with people on Zoom. We would strongly, I would, as a member of the select board, strongly encourage all of the commissions and committees to electronically record themselves. And just, to back up what Erica said in regard to the VLCT, I heard back from them today, and it said, with respect to making certain advisory committees record their meetings, it's possible for some committees the select board may have a strong influence with, and maybe even require some committees to record their meetings, but it really depends on the committee. So as a side note, and maybe this is regarding the cemetery commission, but as a side note, if the town doesn't have the resources, staffing, or time to help these advisory committees record their meetings, I would be hesitant to require advisory bodies to record their meetings. So maybe in regard to the cemetery commission, if it's, I don't know, a logistical nightmare, I have no idea.
Non-advisory.
So
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're not advisory, my mistake.
Veranda, yeah, go ahead. I think Mike and I also heard at the meeting on Saturday, the select board welcome to that if it's a hardship, it's not necessary. There are definitely ways you can excuse yourself from doing that, so.
Yes, I understand. I understand that. And so I think that there's no action required on this.
Can I,
Yeah,
Miranda, can I
Yes.
just put it out? Even if it's as simple as an audio recording on a cell phone and then uploaded where people can just listen to it. I mean, I think that's pretty simple. But like we've already discussed, it would be great to encourage people to record their meetings. So if people are interested in the community, they can find out what's going on at that
Okay.
meeting.
That's great. Yeah, we had a comical effort at the cemetery commission because we work at our meetings during 6 months of the year, and we were up at the Billings Cemetery, with no cell service,
Oh,
trying to use voice memo to record a meeting. And, I think the minutes would reflect a much better, a more lucid summary of what we did, other than listening to people try to make the iPhone work. But that's an exception. And so, I mean, we can certainly continue to request that. And, I hope that people in Guilford are interested enough to try to follow up. So are we done with this recording issue now? It's a little tricky, I'm so sorry, on Zoom to see what everybody has to say. So feel free to just call my name or call out.
Veranda.
I would like to acknowledge that we did have a communication about this topic that I think it's appropriate to read now. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's Tammy Sargent basically agrees with what you folks just did and says that she thinks that the committees and commissions should record their meetings. So.
Well, thank you so much, Erica. I think it could be aspirational, but we can keep on trying. So,
Veranda, could I say one more thing just on that too as well? Backing up with Tara and your own adventures with the voice memo, But I know there was an individual on the recreation committee that would love to have it electronically recorded to making the minutes easier. But you know, if you can, depending on whether they've got a budget in the process or not, it's not very expensive. It's like $10 an hour. But you know, if you do have a voice memo or a way to record just the audio, there you can do what I do for a lot of these meetings and just run it through AI. It's very inexpensive. There's a gazillion sites. I can give them one if they want, and for $10, you know, it transcribes the audio. So then that could go up on the website, you know, in place of an electronically, you know, video.
Okay, thank you. Erica, how long do these audios and videos of all of these meetings need to be saved, and where are they served? Are they saved on the town website, or where is the real estate for them?
Yep, they're on the
YouTube channel. The town has a YouTube channel, and those links get posted on the website, generally with the minutes of the meetings. They're required to stay up for 30 days, but we tend to leave them there.
Okay. Okay, so people who want to hear and see what's going on the commissions have 30 days perhaps to listen or view them. Am I right?
Well, that's the
requirement for the posting. So yes, we may decide if bandwidth ever becomes an issue to abide by that, but it's not taking up any extra space to have a link right now. So they live there permanently.
Okay.
But so if a recording is, like, if the posting is taken down, if the link is ever taken down from the town website, the recording still exists as a public document. It will be on the server here. So if it's an older thing that that does have a recording, then that still exists somewhere, just not posted on the website.
Okay. Okay, so now we're on to new business, and we have a collection of potential single meeting actions. And the first is the appointment of a new recreation commissioner. And so, Erica, could you read us about this person briefly?
Ellen Peters would like to join the Recreation Commission. And this was sent to me by Megan, the chair.
Megan, Okay. Well, I would like to move that we accept Ellen Peters as a new Recreation Commissioner. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Just thank you.
I have a bio if you'd like to hear
I'd like to hear it.
She's an educator. She's an educator in Jamaica Village School and a part-time educator currently at Beak.
Okay, that's Bonnie Vale.
Yes, Environmental Education Center.
Center for people who aren't sure. Okay.
Brenda, can I interrupt? Do you have a light to put on in that room?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Seems to be getting very dark.
I thought you were getting an eclipse wherever you were.
Select Board After Dark.
What do we think? There you go.
Oh, I'm so sorry. There isn't any overhead light.
That is so much better.
Oh, that is comical. Okay. I'm coming back tomorrow. So, okay, so we're voting on Ellen Peters. Tara?
Aye.
Chip?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Sheila?
Aye.
Okay, so we have appointed Ellen Peters, and thank you, Ellen, for your service. So now next we have a potential single meeting action, the Historical Society Museum painting bids, and Erica is going to take the lead on this.
Aye.
So, We, back in February, I believe, or maybe January, we put out an RFP for this work. It's painting and repair carpentry. I solicited bids from several local painting firms, Mumney, Eddie Charbonneau, Tim Dandria, and one called 802 Painting. I got 2 bids. We got a bid from 802 Sorry. We got a bid from 802 Painting and a bid from Mominy Painters. But I believe that I have been trying to work with Sean from 802 to get his licensure and insurance information, and I have not received anything yet. So these bids were due on the 17th, and I've been trying to get Sean to basically fulfill the requirements of the RFP since I got his bid, and he has not done that. So I'm not sure if he's licensed fully to do the lead work that needs to be done. So I think I would recommend the select board consider that bid incomplete. And so we have one bid from Mominy Painters for $22,000 for painting and repair work of the building, and you guys saw the proposal is very, very thorough.
It's really detailed, nice job with that.
And he definitely has all the certifications that, so passive, our insurance doesn't require lead certification, but like I said in my report, talking with the loss prevention person, he says, well, yes, you should definitely have someone who's lead certified in case something happens. They're just trying to cut down on liability, so that's what that means. So Mo, we all know him by reputation, and he and Sean bid on, the same specs for everything. But Mo has a few extra steps that you could optionally add. And I think you could decide this later down the road too if you decide on him to do this work. He has an additional $1,500 to replace the whole roof on the shed of the Historical Society. The little shed. So, do you guys have any questions about the one bid that we got? Or?
What fund does it come out of?
Oh, so the source of funds for this work is the capital fund, 004, 100%. And let's see, at $22,000, that would bring the fund currently down to about $610,000 and $778. 600, So we have plenty of funds, and the capital fund is what I'm saying, even after Jimmy buys his new truck.
I thought your RFP was incredibly detailed and very well done, and I actually thought that Momani, however you say his name, had come back with a good proposal. Let me ask you this: I'm one of these that like see it, say it, get it done. Is there a reason why we would? Because I think you're shepherding this project effectively. Is there a reason why we want to sit on the $1,500 for the shed, or is that something we could just vote on tonight and include it and just get moving on this project?
Yeah, you could do that. I don't see why not. It's
Okay.
part of the proposal, but it's an add-on.
Yeah.
So.
Because I also saw that he was
That's
doing
the
some
select board.
additional carpentry work and stuff as part of it. Yeah,
Yes,
so that was
yes,
good.
there's quite a lot of additional
There's a lot.
carpentry work, yeah.
It's not just painting, he's doing a nice job, yeah.
There's clapboards, there's molding, there's a door to
Yeah,
replace and a door to paint,
I'm for getting it done.
yeah.
Sheila, I want to echo Chip's commendation. I think the RFP was good. I do wish that 802 had come forward with the information. I think you really made a big effort to get out and get it.
Several times, an email.
And I think being responsive is part of being a good contractor. So that's a problem in my mind. I don't know enough about this original assessment of this. Was the roof of the shed part of a needs assessment, or did they just decide that it needs to be done because it's looking bad?
Visual, I think in this case, it was a visual inspection. He did a thorough site visit. I don't know if it was part of the original needs assessment, probably not.
I can't remember, so does he say that it's essential to do it?
Yeah.
No, well,
No,
no,
not-
he says it's optional
Yeah.
for him to do, but he says, I noticed that the shingle roof needs to be replaced.
I see.
And I think you had said that earlier too, when we were talking about the parameters, like months ago, parameters of the job. That Erica had mentioned that the shed needed was an issue.
And he goes on to say, would include removal of old shingles, new felt paper lining under the new shingles, and removal of all debris generated by us.
And I have one final question. Was this within the original scope? Did we anticipate that this would cost about $22,000 or $25,000 or something?
Yeah, I think the asset management schedule had, I think, 35,000, so.
Okay.
So it's still
So I'd
well
like-
within that.
So if it's appropriate, I'd like to move that we accept the bid from Momini, or however you do pronounce it, and give them.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion on the select board?
I did want to ask one question, and that was,
Okay, Mike.
what kind of feedback did we get on the work that Mo did on the meeting house?
Did Mo do the meeting house?
Yes.
Did he?
Yes. I mean, it was this is Veranda. It was, well, I had a conversation with Kyle Parker, whose family took the lead on the meeting house. And he said that, working with Momini's crew, that they were top of the line, just that they did more and better than, that, as Momini said in responding to the RFP, these old buildings are the heart of their work. I mean, I haven't quoted him exactly, but that was what it said at the beginning of the RFP. And I think their experience is very visible here in town.
Great to hear.
Any other comments from the select board?
Yeah, she just texted me to ask.
I think she was texting everybody.
Sorry.
Did you want to say something?
I do. It's minor, and I know that the shed roof is probably not very big, but does it say anything, just because I'm not looking at that document, does it say anything about the life of the shingles?
The life of the shingles?
No,
Yeah.
it says we could do it for an additional $1,500, which would include removal of old shingles, new felt paper lining under new shingles, and removal of debris generated by us, but not a spec about the shingles.
Okay, it's probably just a small job, not a house.
Yeah.
It's a shed.
Got it.
Okay, so select board, are you ready to vote on this?
Yes.
Sorry, are we voting on the whole thing with the $1,500 or just the 22?
Whole thing was 15, I think.
So is this your motion, Chip,
Yes.
right?
Or
Okay,
I- Sheila's motion,
I
actually.
moved. I moved to accept their proposal for $22,000. Does that include the 1,500?
No, it's at the
No,
15th.
15
Okay,
is
so-
additional.
okay, then what we need to do is, let's see.
We could do two motions.
There you go, yeah, perfect.
Oh, do two motions?
Yeah, we got the one on the table already, then we can,
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Perfect.
Okay, so we're voting on the original motion. And Tara, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, Mike,
Aye.
Sheila,
aye.
Chip,
Aye.
and Veranda says aye. And so now we're voting on the additional, is it $5,000, did you say?
100.
1,500.
$1,500
Yes,
Yeah.
for the shed roof.
Yep.
Okay. Now, so that's been moved and seconded. I feel a little,
it hasn't been moved yet.
okay, would,
I'll move that we accept Momini's suggestion that we replace the shed roof for up to $1,500. I'm gonna say
Perfect,
up to $1,500.
I'll second
okay,
that.
is there a second?
I seconded it.
Okay, is there any discussion within the select board about this? Okay, so you are ready to vote. Okay, Tara,
Aye.
Chip,
Aye.
Mike,
I,
Sheila,
Aye.
and Veranda says aye. So I hope that the delayed maintenance on the town office historical museum, that now it's going to be refurbished, and I hope that the Historical Society will have another wonderful building to take pride in. So, next item on the agenda, another potential single meeting action, town road and bridge standards. And so, as I think most of you know, this is an annual action that we take. Erica, did you want to say anything more about this?
Yeah, this is an annual action, you're totally correct. It's something that the state needs every year so that they can then give us our aid for roads. And it's all tied in with other documentation that they get, but they want to know that we that our adopted standards meet or exceed the minimum requirements that the state has. And we do have an up-to-date highway network inventory. And that's what this document is. And
Okay, so do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion on the select board? Okay, hearing none, we will take a vote. Tara,
Aye.
Mike,
I,
Chip,
Aye.
Sheila,
Aye.
and Veranda says aye. So we have approved the town road and bridge standards. And the next item is also a potential single meeting action. Erica notes that there's an ash tree removal grant. And before she describes it, I just wanted to set it up that, as the select board likely remembers, our volunteer conservation commission did an exhaustive ash tree inventory about ash trees that were in the town right of way. And so this grant can be built on the foundational work that was already done by the Conservation Commission. So Erica, do you want to carry on with this?
Yes, so that.
what Veranda, what you just said is what interested me in applying for this grant. There is no match, and the grant is competitive. Towns could get between $6,000 and $12,000 for ash tree removal in the town right of way. One of the requirements is that you have an existing ash tree inventory, which, hooray, we do. And the inventory tells us that we have about 483 priority ash trees that are priority for removal in our right of way. Jimmy supports this idea of applying for just some extra money to help us remove more trees than we normally would in a scheduled year. We have a fixed budget of $20,000 for tree removal, but that's not just ash trees. So this grant could help Guilford spread their highway budget out a little bit and just make use of the work that the Conservation Commission has done. And the reason The reason that it's a potential single meeting action tonight is that it's due on Friday.
Bless your
Okay.
heart. Okay, so I'd like to move that we authorize Erica to apply for this grant. Is that the right language, Erica?
Yes.
Okay, is there
I'll
a second?
second.
Okay, very good. Is there any more discussion? Okay, then let's make it happen. What?
Sheila had her hand up.
Oh, thank you, Sheila.
I just wanted to, I've read the documents that, I just wanted to know if it's there's a pilot program of $24,000 only. Do you have any idea if we have a chance of getting any of those dollars?
I don't, but it's a short form to fill out.
Yeah, I saw.
To apply for the
No.
grant, so.
I mean, it would be great if we did. I don't know if other municipalities have their
yeah.
ash tree
Well, right.
inventory and stuff like that.
I like to honor the work that our
No.
commission.
It was an amazing job by the individuals behind
Yeah.
that study.
Yeah,
Seriously,
it's
it
a
was
massive-
just a massive job with a lot of information that was just sent out, so well organized.
Yeah, it's just one of Guilford's many noble volunteer efforts, just have to say. Okay, so now we're going to have a vote. So Tara,
Aye.
Chip,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Sheila,
Yes.
and Veranda says yes. Okay, now we're moving on to the next item. Okay, so this is another potential single meeting action. We have an agreement with the town clerk per personnel policy. And so, Erica, can you just describe what this means?
Yes, and I can tell you why this would be a single meeting action. That's because it's very simple. Our personnel policy states in the section 2, persons covered, personnel policies apply. This personnel policy applies to full-time and part-time employees of the town, except by written agreement, elected officers and their statutory assistants. So what this is the written agreement from our elected officer, town clerk. And it just very simply details which parts of the personnel policy don't apply to the town clerk, which is mostly because they're an exempt position. And Uriel kindly signed this very shortly after election, and now the select board can accept that, and we'll add it to Uriel's file.
Okay, and so I don't know if Uriel is still here, but I'd like to thank him for bringing his work into compliance with our personnel policy. That's great. And so we need to have a motion to, now is the right language to accept his, what, help me out here, Erica.
Earn the agreement.
Approve.
Approve. Okay, it takes a village on this. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with the town clerk per personnel policy.
Okay, is that the right way to put it, Erica?
Yes.
It's fine.
The exception, do we need to say anything about the exception or no?
No,
The exception?
No,
no. He's just accepting.
Oh, no, well, the personnel policy, it says that an exempt employee or an elected official needs a written agreement.
Okay, very good. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Is there any further conversation about this? Okay, so Erica, Sheila, how do you vote?
I vote aye. Great.
Okay. Mike,
Aye.
Chip,
Aye.
Tara,
Aye.
and Veranda says aye. Okay, So now moving right along, there's other business. Do we have any other business? Okay, and I think we've already discussed correspondence, have we not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and so is there any public comment? We have time for public comment, and I might need a little bit of help identifying people who have a public comment, because I might not see it. So does anybody have a public comment?
Well, somebody there on the.
Oh, okay.
I'll let whoever on the big picture, who go ahead.
Oh, will you help me?
Is it Jeanette?
Jeanette.
Okay.
Jeanette, did you have a comment?
I do two things. First, thanks to the select board for mentioning the event on Wednesday. Just a quick recap. We're very fortunate that Meg Mott has agreed to be our moderator. And typically when you have an event, you have the experts sit up in the front and speak. And really we're going to do something different where Meg will be asking questions of participants, our invited guest, our special guest, will be there to provide information, but really this is hoped to be a very dynamic conversation. So I hope people will be able to come out on Wednesday, Broadbrook Community Center at 7 p.m. And then the second thing is I just want to commend the select board for the very thoughtful deliberations you've had this evening. You tackled some tough questions, but throughout this, you showed a real reverence and commitment to doing what's best for the town and being forthright and honest with the town. So I really want to commend you for your discussion this evening. It was quite something to witness. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, did Dolores have something to say? I'm at a disadvantage because I can't really see.
Yep, I've got plenty to say.
Okay, Dolores.
Okay, I'm gonna start with, the, I don't know how it was brought, the conflict of interest. And, but Chip went around and he was asked, or no, it was the, goals. Number one, it was the goal thing. So Chip went around and you guys were wondering, what are other towns doing? What are other towns doing with their goals? And Chip who was very studious, went around and asked all these towns about their goals. Well, I know a lot of people in different towns, and I've discussed the fact that this select board will not let anybody talk except for at the beginning and the end and not have anything to say, which is completely new. I mean, for years, you could go to a select board meeting and talk and discuss, ask questions, and now you can't. And so I've been to talk to people at Putney, all these places that Chip went and, looked on there to see what sort of goals they had. And all those towns, I've talked to people, and they're like, what? You can't have anything to say at select board meetings? That was one thing. So that might be a goal that you could work on, where we could get back to where it used to be, where people could actually have discussions about the topics that are brought up. Another thing was that the conflict of interest, I looked at the policies and I watched the videos that you guys were supposed to watch. And Chip and Tara looked at that and they came out. It wasn't like, I feel this, I feel that, it's written down, direct things, as Chip read out. It's not like, well, I kind of like the store, I think it's a good place. It has nothing to do with that. The conflict of interest has nothing to do with feelings. It's like written down. And so, thank you, Tara. Thank you, Chip. Good job. And the other thing was, good job, Erica, on the Historical Society. 2 thumbs up. And I guess that was it.
Well, thank you so much for your comments. Dolores. It's always good to hear from you. Is
Mm-hmm.
there any other community comment? Anyone else who wants to offer a community comment? Is that Maggie? Okay, go ahead, Maggie. Why don't you show your face?
Thanks, Miranda. I also wanted to weigh in on the conflict of interest and interested in hearing what was just said about, it's not about feelings. And I just want to be clear, a conflict of interest occurs when someone has a real financial or personal stake that could improperly influence their decisions. It's different than fiduciary responsibility to a nonprofit organization. That's not the same as personal financial gain. I think it's really important to recognize those differences and to be clear about that. Where I really kind of and I know Jeanette said thank you for this conversation tonight, and I agree. It was a very thoughtful conversation. I just want to raise that this idea that the town must avoid all perceived conflicts of interest, no matter how unfounded, feels like a really deeply flawed approach to governance to me, especially given the context of this town that we live in right now. Perception is subjective. And the standard to eliminate anything that someone might misunderstand, then we won't have anyone able to serve on anything in this town. The only way to avoid all perceived conflicts is to have decision-making bodies made up of people who have no relevant experience, no community ties, and no stake in the issues at hand, which I think we can all agree would be a terrible outcome. Instead of making policy based on unfounded accusations, this focus should be on actual conflicts of interest, real legal conflicts of interest, using clear standards based on ethics and law, not speculation, optics, or as Dolores said, feelings. So I think that bringing in this perceived conflicts of interest as the threshold would be discouraging to civic engagement and discouraging from involving people like in this instance, Sheila, who have experience with local issues. If we start labeling every instance of community involvement as conflict of interest, we'll end up with fewer engaged citizens willing to serve. And so, I feel like there's a little bit of a pendulum in terms of how we're swinging it with conflict of interest. And I feel like going to no perceived conflicts of interest, everyone's perception is different, as we've learned. And, someone's very existence can be a perceived conflict of interest in this town. And so I'd warn you all against swinging the pendulum too far in this effort to make everyone happy, because I think, people will always be dissatisfied, but you really need to look at the clarity around what is an actual, real conflict of interest when making these decisions. And thank you all for your service. It's hard to put yourself out there with all this pieces around conflict of interest and, guilt by association, but I really appreciate it. And I want to be careful that we don't discourage volunteerism and civic engagement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Maggie. Is there anybody else from the public who had
Yes.
I'm sorry, Barry.
I agree with Maggie 100%. It was in my mind way back at the conversation. I had a real problem with any perceived, even small, conflict of interest in a person or in a group. It leaves the door wide open for abuse. Individuals can perceive a conflict of interest here or there or the other place and grind things to a halt. And I'm sorry to say, but we've seen that over the last few years with some unfortunate conversations that have happened in the community and on the select board. So a perception of a conflict of interest, as Maggie said, is really problematic. It should be factual based. And the facts and the regulations are very clear. And it's a matter of a personal financial interest, not an interest, an interest in a nonprofit or in a committee's work, even if it involves finances, does not mean there's a conflict of interest for that person. The person is doing due diligence, is advising the select board with his or her real experience and information based on their role in the committee or commission. So Maggie's example of the pendulum. Let's not swing it way back, which will grind so many good services of the town to a halt. People will not be able to serve, number one, and the perception of conflict of interest opens up to abuse by any individual who wants to put a roadblock to various services. So I urge you to take out that idea of a perception and keep it fact-based.
Okay, thank you so much, Barry. I think that we're now at the end of our community comment time. It's been very valuable to hear what everyone has to say. So,
Can I ask one question?
I think we're done with community comments right now.
Okay, yeah.
So now we're looking at actions from the meeting of 3/10/25. We elected a chair and a vice chair. We approved the minutes of 2/24/25, approved warrants, adopted resolution for planning grant, adopted non-binding resolution, approved officers, approved road postings, and approved newspapers of record. In this meeting, we approved the minutes, we approved the warrants, and we appointed a new rec commissioner. We had an action on the Historical Society painting job. We approved the road and bridge standards. We approved Erica going ahead with the ash tree removal grant. We had an agreement with the town clerk that we approved of for the personnel policy. In terms of actions to be taken, I think the main action to be taken that we've agreed on was to combine suggestions to look at and potentially rewrite the goals of the select board from our Excel sheet to make recommendations about how to implement them, and to come back to the next meeting where we will plan other actions to be taken that I've missed. No?
No, you broke up a little bit, but I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So then the next action to be taken is a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, so now polling the people. Sheila, what say you?
I say aye.
Okay, Mike?
Aye.
Chip?
Aye.
And Tara?
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry that we're not there to sign things, but I can stop by the town office later on this week to sign.
Thank you.
So thank you, everybody in the room there and everyone who came by Zoom for participating in our process.